I think that, he was a pretty good family man. He really loved his grandchild.
From Dave Hester to Renee Nejota and Brandy Passante, the Storage Wars crew are reacting to the death of Darrell Sheets. Darrell Sheets died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but now some of his fellow castmates are pointing to someone they believe may have played a role in his final days. Sheets had been photographed just hours before his death at his antique shop, Havasu Show Me Your Junk, where witnesses described him as upbeat, friendly, and in good spirits. Darrell Sheets looked happy and in good spirits just hours before his shocking and sudden death. Customers had visited the store that evening, taken photos with the man they recognized from TV, and left without any indication that anything was wrong. He was smiling. He was greeting people. He was doing what Darrell Sheets had done for decades, working with the items he loved, connecting with the community around him, and living the life of a man who had built his identity around the thrill of the find. Then, in the early hours of the following morning, everything changed. On April 22, 2026, at approximately 0200 hours, officers with the Lake Havasu City Police Department were dispatched to a residence in the 1500 block of Chandler Drive in reference to a reported deceased individual. Upon arrival, officers found a male with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Sheets was pronounced dead at the scene, and his death is still under active investigation. The Lake Havasu City Police Department confirmed Sheets' death in a press release that sent ripples through the reality TV world within hours. His body was turned over to the Mojave County Medical Examiner's Office for further investigation. He is survived by 2 children and his ex-wife, Kimber Wurrofel. For those who had watched him on their screens for over a decade, the news was incomprehensible. Darrell was a fan favorite on Storage Wars before retiring to Lake Havasu, Arizona, where he was operating an antique shop called Havasu Show Me Your Junk. He wasn't someone who faded from public life. He was still out there, still among his treasures, still greeting fans who recognized him from all those years of bidding wars. The idea that the man who had been photographed smiling just hours earlier was now gone was difficult to process for everyone who knew him, worked with him, or simply watched him go all in on a dusty locker full of unknowns. Darrell the Gambler Sheets appeared across 15 seasons of Storage Wars, from 2010 to 2023, where he bid on repossessed storage units. All told, Darrell appeared in 163 episodes of Storage Wars, and he also made guest appearances on Jay Leno's late-night talk show and Rachel Ray's cooking series. He wasn't a minor figure in reality TV. He was one of the pillars of one of the most watched shows on A&E, and now the network itself was among the first to respond. A spokesperson for A&E told multiple outlets that they were saddened by the passing of a beloved member of our Storage Wars family, Darrell the Gambler Sheets. The spokesperson added, "Our thoughts are with his family and loved ones during this difficult time." A&E released a public statement mourning his loss. A&E will also pay tribute to Sheets by including an in memoriam card for him in the new episode of Storage Wars set to air this weekend. But the network's official words were only the beginning. In the hours and days that followed, the people who had stood shoulder to shoulder with Darrell Sheets at storage auctions across California, rivals, friends, partners, and fellow originals began to speak, and what they had to say would go far beyond simple condolences. To understand why the loss of Darrell Sheets hit so hard, you have to understand who he was and what he meant to the show that made him famous. Long before TV fame, Sheets had spent more than 30 years working in the storage auction business. He wasn't someone the cameras discovered and turned into a character. He was already a character. For 3 decades before Storage Wars ever aired its first episode in December 2010, Darrell Sheets was showing up to auction lots, sizing up padlocked rooms full of other people's abandoned belongings, and gambling his own money on what might be inside. On the Storage Wars website, his bio reads, "Ever the Gambler." Darrell has been addicted to the high of storage auctions for 32 years. That addiction to the adrenaline, to the uncertainty, to the possibility of a life-changing score hiding under a dusty tarp, became his entire identity on the show. The debut of Storage Wars in 2010 shot him into the spotlight, with his bold, high-risk bidding style earning him the nickname The Gambler. His larger-than-life personality quickly made him one of the show's most recognizable figures. On the show, Sheets was known for his big game and his low-volume, high-value strategy. While other buyers might grab several cheap units and hope for volume wins, Darrell preferred to wait, watch, and then strike with devastating precision when he believed a unit held something extraordinary. It was a high-wire act that thrilled viewers and terrified his competitors in equal measure. He often appeared alongside his son, Brandon Sheets, forming a popular on-screen partnership. Unlike many of his peers, Sheets frequently sold his finds at swap meets, rather than operating a traditional storefront, setting him apart within the industry. The father-son dynamic added a layer of warmth to every episode they appeared in together. Darrell teaching Brandon the tricks of the trade, Brandon occasionally rolling his eyes at his dad's biggest gambles, and both of them celebrating together when those gambles paid off spectacularly. And they did pay off. In the Season 3 finale, Darrell bought a locker for $3,600, which was discovered to have contained many pieces of original artwork by Frank Gutierrez. The artwork wound up being appraised for approximately $300,000, resulting in the biggest profit in the show's history. That single find remains one of the defining moments in Storage Wars history. After bidding around $4,000 on a unit in Montebello, California, Sheets opened the locker to find dozens of paintings. Before knowing much about the artist, Sheets noted that the artwork was beautiful to his son. He didn't need an appraiser to tell him he had something special. His gut had told him before the door was even all the way open. But the art collection wasn't his only legendary find. In an interview, Sheets indicated that some of his biggest finds in lockers included a sizable comic book collection, 4 drawings by Pablo Picasso, and a letter written by Abraham Lincoln that sold for over $15,000. Over the years, he'd bid on and won 4 Picassos and the world's most profitable comic book collection per A&E. His competitive nature also led to notable rivalries, particularly with fellow buyer Dave Hester. Hester had confrontations with the other main buyers, especially Darrell and Brandon Sheets, and is known to frequently raise bids when somebody else wants to buy a storage unit. Those showdowns between the gambler and the mogul became the stuff of reality TV legend. 2 men with fundamentally different approaches to the game, each convinced the other was going about it all wrong. Through his decades-long career in storage auctions and reality television, Sheets built an estimated net worth of around $4 million, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most memorable personalities in the genre. He wasn't just a reality TV star. He was a self-made man who had turned an unconventional career into a fortune, a family business, and a lasting place in American pop culture. Beneath the bravado and the winning bids, Darrell Sheets had been fighting battles that the cameras didn't always capture. In March 2019, Darrell was hospitalized after suffering a heart attack. He ended up needing surgery. TMZ reported on his hospitalization at the time. In 2019, he revealed on social media that he had suffered a mild heart attack. After months of illness, the reality TV star shared that doctors diagnosed him with congestive heart failure and a serious lung condition, noting that surgery would be necessary. At the time, he asked fans for their prayers and support, reflecting on his journey with gratitude. In 2019, he had 2 heart attacks and underwent heart surgery, but had recovered. The health scare was severe enough to fundamentally alter the trajectory of his life and career. After suffering a mild heart attack in 2019, Sheets retired from the show and moved to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, to operate the antique shop Havasu Show Me Your Junk. However, he made guest appearances up until season 15 in 2023. He also expressed appreciation for his then-fiancée, Romney Snyder, whom he credited for standing by him throughout the difficult period. The man known for gambling on storage units had been dealt a hand he couldn't bluff his way out of, and for once, the gambler had to fold, stepping away from the show that had defined his public life for the better part of a decade. He relocated to Arizona, traded in the high-stakes auction circuit for a quieter existence, running his shop, and tried to build something that wouldn't put his heart at further risk. After more than a decade on the show, Sheets eventually retired from Storage Wars in 2023. He shifted his focus to a quieter life, running his antique business and spending time with his family. Sheets had previously faced health challenges, but retirement from TV didn't mean retirement from public life. Darrell Sheets was still recognizable, still accessible, and still operating in the world where fans could find him. And that accessibility, it would later be revealed, came with a devastating cost. Last month, Darrell posted several alarming posts to Facebook, claiming that he was being cyberbullied by specific people whom he named in a post. In 2 posts in March, Darrell even let his friends and family know that if anything happens to him, it was these 2 specific people who would be behind it. The troubling social media posts were documented. These were direct, specific warnings from a man who felt he was under siege. And yet the public nature of those posts, combined with the sheer volume of noise on social media, meant they didn't generate the kind of alarm they should have. Darrell Sheets hadn't posted to Facebook since February, and his Instagram's latest post was in December of 2025. The silence that followed those alarming March warnings was, in hindsight, its own kind of warning. A man who had spent years engaging with fans online simply went quiet, and within weeks, he was gone. According to the reality star, he had this guy, really tormenting him lately and cyberbullying him, Nezhoda alleged. The revelation that cyberbullying may have played a role in the final chapter of Darrell Sheets' life would become the most talked about aspect of the aftermath. But before that conversation could begin, the people who knew him best needed to say goodbye. The tributes began almost immediately, and they painted a picture of a man who was far more than the character audiences saw on television. Storage Wars cast members can have their heated showdowns, and though Renee Nezhoda admitted in his Instagram tribute that he and Darrell Sheets were at odds on the show quite a few times, they were friendly at the end of the day. Renee Nezhoda, the man who competed fiercely against Darrell on screen for years, was the first to post publicly, and his message was a striking blend of grief, anger, and urgency. Unfortunately, Darrell Sheets took his own life, Nezhoda said. I know a lot of you guys think we hated each other because we competed a lot on the show. And we had our moments, we had our run-ins, but that's because we were both competitors, right? Nezhoda said. Deep down, me and Darrell were friends. He was a very hard worker that cared more than anyone I've ever met about their family, about his son, about Zoe, his granddaughter, pretty much all the people in his life. Nezhoda began. But Nezhoda didn't stop at remembering his friend. He pivoted sharply into a call to action that would dominate the headlines. After paying compliments to Sheets and crediting his passion for his family and his job, he shifted the focus to cyberbullying. Guys, just because you watch us on TV doesn't mean you know us. It doesn't mean you know what we're about. Also, it doesn't entitle you to bully anybody. You shouldn't cyberbully at all. You never know what demons somebody faces and what they go through, and what you might push them through. Nezhoda's video on Instagram laid bare the cyberbullying claims. Darrell has been posting a lot about the guy that's been cyberbullying him and tormenting him, and I really hope law enforcement look into that guy. And it's just not a pass. Renee encouraged fans to act if they see someone they know cyberbullying. Slap them in the back of the head, he said. Make them become a better human being. Because you never know what demons somebody faces and what they go through and what you may push them through. Nezhoda made an impassioned plea about cyberbullying. In an emotional social media tribute, Storage Wars star Brandy Passante mourned the death of her co-star Darrell Sheets and explained why his apparent cause of death hit close to home. I'm at a loss for words. I've known Darrell Sheets for many years. I'm just so very sorry to hear the circumstances of his passing. My heart hurts for Brandon, Zoe, and Kimber. I unfortunately lost a parent and a brother to similar situations, Passante wrote. Her grief was deeply personal. This wasn't a generic celebrity condolence. Brandy Passante was drawing a direct line between the pain she had experienced losing her own family members and the devastation now facing Darrell's children and loved ones. I would like to say to everyone, if you're struggling, if you feel hopeless or like no one cares, I assure you they do. You are not alone, she wrote. Please reach out for help. You are not taking your pain away. You're transferring it to someone else. The grief from suicide is endless. There is always help. You can dial 988 on your phone to connect with a counselor and resources. Never suffer in silence. Pasante's tribute shared her own connection to similar loss. The photos she included featured the duo with actor Tom Hanks, who has admitted before that he is a huge Storage Wars fan. Dan Dotson, a veteran Storage Wars cast member who runs American Auctioneers with his wife Laura Dotson, shared a memorial on behalf of the auctioneer community. Rip Darrell Sheets. You're in our hearts and minds. The world is going to miss you, brother. Dan wrote via Instagram. Dan Dotson's tribute was shared on social media. Mary Padian, who left the show in season 13 and moved back to Texas to focus on her own e-commerce business, Mary's finds. In the post, she shared a throwback picture of her and Darrell Sheets from their time on Storage Wars and wrote, "Some people become part of a chapter of your life that you never forget. You will be missed, Darrell." Mary Padian paid tribute with a throwback photo. And then there was Dave Hester, the mogul himself, the man who had clashed with Darrell Sheets more than perhaps anyone else on the show. The reality star, who appeared alongside Sheets on the A&E reality series for several years, starting in 2010, reacted to the news of his co-star's death in a clip shared to Instagram and Facebook. "He was a big part of the show for a long time," Hester said. "Storage Wars has a big family. They're still going and will keep going, and we'll stick together." We all love Darrell Sheets. Even though he wasn't actively filming at the time, he's always there. Some of my best battles are with him. Again, those will just be good memories. I hope the best for his family and everything, and everybody's where they need to be, at peace. I hope he's in a better place. That's all I can say. "Yup, man out," he added, referring to his signature "you up" bidding catchphrase on the series. Hester honored Sheets' memory in his own distinctive style. The collective response from the Storage Wars family revealed something that millions of viewers might not have fully appreciated. The rivalries were for the cameras. The friendships were real. Beyond the tributes and the tears, the circumstances surrounding Darrell Sheets' death have opened a deeply troubling chapter that extends well past the reality TV world. The Lake Havasu City Police Department has confirmed that cyberbullying accusations are now a central part of their active investigation into Sheets' death. After Najoda's post gained attention on social media, revealed in a statement to Page 6 that officers are aware of these cyberbullying accusations, and that is a part of the active investigation. Police confirmed the cyberbullying investigation. This wasn't a rumor or a vague accusation. Last month, Darrell posted several alarming posts to Facebook, claiming that he was being cyberbullied by specific people whom he named. In 2 posts in March, Darrell even let his friends and family know that if anything happens to him, it was these 2 specific people who would be behind it. Those posts exist, they are documented, and now law enforcement is treating them as part of an active investigation into how one of America's most beloved reality TV personalities ended up dead in his Arizona home at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday morning has been determined to force into the open. For the people who loved Darrell Sheets, it is horrifyingly concrete. You shouldn't cyberbully at all, Najoda said. As a matter of fact, if you have somebody in your life that thinks it's fun to cyberbully other people, maybe a celebrity athlete or a little girl or schoolmate, slap them in the back of the head. Make them become a better human being, because you never know what demons somebody faces and what they go through, and what you might push them through. The fans, too, have rallied around Darrell's memory with overwhelming emotion. On social media, fans of the reality TV star have expressed sadness over his death, with many recalling his days on Storage Wars. One person noted, "I encountered him when I was working at Disneyland. Nice guy, and may he rest in peace. Mental health matters, and you're not alone." Another said, "That's sad. Been watching him since day one. He was an OG of the show." A third fan commented, "Damn, that's sad. He seemed like a pretty good dude. Rip Brotha." One more wrote, "This has really upset me seeing this. Darrell was my favorite on Storage Wars." Commenting online, one fan wrote, "Rest easy, Darrell. I used to watch you on Storage Wars with my dad, who passed away in 2015. Another penned, "Rip Darrell. We might not have known you personally, but you touched the hearts of tens of millions worldwide. We are broken to hear this sad news. The outpouring is a testament to what Darrell Sheets meant to the people who invited him into their living rooms every week for over a decade. He wasn't just entertaining, he was a presence, a figure who felt like family to people who had never met him. His catchphrase, his gambles, his wins, his losses, his relationship with Brandon, all of it became part of the fabric of people's lives, often watched together with their own families. Sheets is survived by his son, Brandon Sheets, who also appeared on the A&E series, and his daughter, Tiffany Sheets. The passing of Darrell Sheets marks the loss of a beloved figure in the storage auction community and the reality TV world. His legacy as the gambler will be remembered by fans and fellow cast members alike. Storage Wars will continue, but his presence on the series will always be felt. When you think about Darrell Sheets, think about the man who spent over 30 years in the storage auction business before a single camera ever pointed at him. Think about the father who brought his son to work and turned it into a partnership that millions of people watched and loved. Think about the gambler who turned a $30,600 bet into $300,000 worth of art. Think about the man who survived 2 heart attacks and rebuilt his life in the Arizona desert. And think about what was taken from him and from all of us by the cruelty of people who believed that a screen between themselves and their target made their words harmless. Darrell Sheets was 67 years old. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, help is available. You can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.